had a therapist at this time, I remember, who a couple times I'd approach him about the relationship dynamics, and I told him what was going on, and he would say to me, well, you're trying this out. You're trying out this relationship style. And it hit me like a nail. It just pierced me in a way where I was like, no, like this is what I am wanting to do. Like my intention is here, and I want to get through these uncomfortable points because I believe a better world is possible. And I think that's why I've started to lean so closely towards relationship anarchy.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to the first episode of 2026, episode 426. We're Finn and Emma.
We planned that. We planned that 7.5 years ago. Everything in this podcast has been leading up to the moment where the first episode of 2026 was episode 426.
Yeah, we really planned that far out.
So thank you all for being part of our game.
Yes.
We're now done with the podcast. We're retiring. We're retiring.
We kid. Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to episode 426. Today, we have a wonderful conversation with Rashid as he takes us through pretty much his whole relationship journey, sharing his experiences and what he's learned along the way.
Yeah, we got connected to Rashid from one of our previous guests, Nicole, from episode 419. You'll hear Rashid today talk a little bit about his partner, Nicole, and her podcast. So that's the Nicole from episode 419, the host of the Modern Anarchy podcast. Wonderful conversation. You can definitely go have a listen to that as well, but not required for today's fantastic chat with Rashid.
Not only is our interview today fantastic with Rashid, he also sticks around for our new bonus question segment that you can now listen as a premium subscriber. In case you missed it, in November and December, we introduced some new bonus questions that we ask our guests after they share their story. And the questions are randomly drawn from various card games we have, such as Where Should We Begin?, Get Squirmy, Chat Sparks, and the Non-Monogamy card game. Some are deep, some are fun, some are sexy. We go wherever the cards and conversation takes us, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've been previewing these episodes or these bonus questions over the last few weeks at the end of our regular episodes. And now they're available to our premium subscribers for just $4 a month or $40 for a year. So if you'd like this extra content, these extra questions, plus ad-free listening, plus even better, you get to help support the podcast so we can keep doing this every single week. We're not actually retiring. We want to come back for episode 527 and 627.
Yes.
So we appreciate your support. You can head over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Right there on the homepage, scroll down and you'll see the links there to sign up for the premium subscription. Also, another bonus while you're over there, we have a brand new homepage.
We do.
Yeah, we've been slowly updating our website over the last couple of weeks and we'll be continuing over the next month or two. So if you want to check out some new website design, head over and check it out.
And now for our premium subscribers, we're going to jump right into the interview with Rashid. And for anyone else, we're going to go through a few announcements. First up, we wanted to remind all of you about our community. We lead a community full of over 300 people socializing and supporting one another every single day. We host the community on a platform called Mighty Networks. We have monthly communities support Zoom calls, monthly virtual workshops, and in-person events as well, all for less than $10 a month.
Yeah, so if you are looking for support and community and maybe a bunch of education this year around your non-monogamy journey, we highly recommend it.
Come join us.
Come join us. Our next monthly workshop is coming up January 15th. It is with Marsha Bazinski. Actually had Marsha on the podcast last week for episode 425. That workshop is called Why You Don't Know What You Want and How to Find Out. You can learn more about that workshop and all of the other workshops that we've had in 2024, 2025, and coming up in 2026. By heading over to our website and clicking on the events tab, and you'll see an option there for the workshops. And again, just a quick reminder, if you happen to miss this workshop, but you really wanted it, all of our members of our community get access to our recordings from all of our previous workshops. So right now, if you sign up, you're going to get access to almost 15 workshops and counting. So definitely check it out. We'd love to have you come join us. And one other perk that we wanted to mention that you get by joining our community is you get access to the premium subscription that we were talking about earlier. So you get that bonus content and ad-free listening as part of the community. So we just wanted to make sure you knew that.
To learn more and sign up for the community, go over to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, click on the community tab. It's a brand new webpage. We're super excited about it, and you can sign up right there. Next up, we wanted to remind all of you about some fun events coming up. And just to be clear, for these upcoming events, you do not need to be a member of our community or the premium subscription to join either of them. They are open to the public. The first one is our next in-person retreat. We're super excited about this event. It is called Relationship Recess. It's going to be outside Orlando, Florida, May 1st to the 3rd, 2026, and tickets are on sale now. You can go over to our website again, click on the events tab, and you can find out a lot more information there. We would love to have you come join us.
Yeah, we're super excited about this. We're partnering with the team from Multi-Amory and bringing in a strategic play consultant to create an incredible weekend full of games, play, and exciting activities. So yeah, definitely come join us in Florida. But if that's not necessarily in the cards for you, we've also got some virtual events going on. Our next one is our virtual speed friending coming up on January 22nd, just a couple of weeks away. Again, anybody is welcome. Anybody can join us. These are open to the public. We just ask that you be open-minded and respectful. These are a great way to meet people from around the world in a low-pressure and fun environment. You can learn more and sign up by clicking on the banner at the top of our website, or again, clicking on that events tab. You'll find out more information there. If you're not familiar with our virtual speed friendings, we bring everybody together in Zoom. We do some quick introductions, set some guidelines for the evening, and then we ask a fun question to get you thinking. We send you off to a breakout room with a couple other people. You talk about it, you laugh about it, then we scramble the rooms, ask a new question, and we do that over and over for about 2 hours. And by the end of it, you walk away with a whole bunch of new friends and an exciting evening. So definitely come check it out and join us. We'll see you on January 22nd.
Next up, we wanted to remind all of you about our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It is stdcheck.com. This is the service Finn and I use. We've been using it for years, and it is fast and efficient and discreet. I guess fast and efficient are kind of the same thing, but it is a great service, and we highly encourage you to check it out. Go over to our website, click on the resources tab. Using the links on that webpage saves you $10, making a 10-panel test only $129, and it supports the podcast, supports our work. So thank you in advance for using those links.
Yeah, and what better time to get tested than right here at the beginning of the year?
Yes. And a final reminder, reach out to us, send us an email over on the Contact Us page of our website. If you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we would love to have you come join us. Maybe that's something that you want to do in 2026.
Ooh, a good resolution.
Yes.
That's a good goal for 2026.
Reach out to us and let us know. We would love to interview you and have you on the podcast. And if you have any questions or comments for us, reach out to us as well.
We'll take those as well. But we really just want you to come on the podcast. That's the real reason we do this. Our resolution for this year is to have you on the podcast.
Yes.
You, specifically you. All right.
And now let's go and talk with Rashid. Welcome to the podcast, Rashid. We're excited to talk with you today. We know very little, which is exciting because we get to dive in and learn a whole bunch. We would love for you to start by introducing yourself at whatever level you're comfortable with. And thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Emma and Finn. It's really great to be here with you guys. I did not ever envision this for myself with listening to some of your prior episodes and like what I mentioned before of your Pam and Jim episode. So my name is Rashid. I also go by Sheed. I am a human that lives in the Chicagoland area, and I came into a more alternative relationship styles around, I think 2018. And it has evolved into such a trip that's brought me into so many different communities and people and different ways of expressing that have felt way more aligned to my values. So I'm really looking forward to diving into a conversation with you guys, because it's pretty surreal being here with you and having this experience, because I'm I've listened to them for several years now. So this is exciting.
Love it. Well, we're excited too. Maybe we have a similar, because we talked to your partner, Nicole, and so we learned a little bit about you. So we both know a little bit about each other. We'll say we're trying to catch up. So maybe, let's go back to either 2018 or earlier. I'm curious what did relationshiping look like back then in 2018 when you kind of found non-monogamy, and maybe what drew you to it initially?
Yeah, for sure. It's a really good question of a starting point. Well, I feel like for starters, I do want to give like an age context because I have been noticing with talking to, I'm currently a grad student in a counseling psychology program, and I've been noticing how age differences are about how people approach relationships. So I'm 31 years old right now. And so back in 2018, I was like I had just finished up undergrad. I was like a year out from it. And I had been in a monogamous configuration with a partner for, at that point, 9 years, I think. This person and I dated for 10 years. And over that course of relationship, like I met other people that I started to have feelings for, develop crushes, etc. And I remember really like squishing myself into a box, being like, all of this is bad. Like these emotions and everything I'm experiencing, like I am not good because the rest of the world is this way. Like there's something up with me in this. And I mean, being a very young adult, I was still like forming a lot of my identity and my values around it. So in 2018, I'm a pretty avid rock climber. I'm fairly active in the Chicagoland community with it. Used to work in the climbing gyms here. And so when I was getting into more advanced climbing, I was getting towards lead climbing. A climbing partner at that time was starting to kind of exit a relationship, and they were talking with their therapist about what their experience was like. And so we started to get really close with each other, and there was some like, we both had feelings underneath towards each other that we weren't showing at that time
Mhm.
because of our relationships,
Yep.
both being like monogamous and etc. So later they approached me and told me more about, I think the first book might have been More Than Two. They had presented some things that I thought were pretty interesting that felt really challenging for me at that time, which was like, I think they were like maybe 25 or 24 at that time. They're like, what's it going to be like to envision myself 40 plus years in the future living with this current partner? And they were really struggling with that of just being like, this is it, like I've achieved all that there is relationally. And I had some time apart from them for a little bit. I did like an outdoor program. I came back to Chicago. I was kind of like reintegrating into the city. And I think I had also reconnected with a previous dating partner who really ironically was like, hey, so what do you think of polyamory? I was like, this is so weird because I had just read at that time. I remember I read two articles specifically. One was the perspective of three men in a relationship with each other as a triad. And the other was the perspective of a child raised in an open marriage.
Mm.
And in both circumstances, I was like, this is beautiful. Like all of these people are connecting and supporting each other. I felt this like resonance of emotion there that I didn't have language for. So when this previous dating partner approached me, I felt, I was just like, are you watching me or something? Um, but this person and I didn't exactly click in ways that I think really worked for us, but it did start a conversation that I like later down the line, it pushed me to think about like, what am I doing?
Mhm.
Where am I guiding my boat? Because pretty soon after that, I mean, within a year, COVID began, and I ended that 10-year relationship. She moved to Texas, and we subsequently like stopped having any contact with each other. I went a pretty alternative route from college to, I was working in a climbing gym and was feeling pretty aimless. I had done psychology as my understudy, but didn't feel attached to my particular field of it. So I made a really far jump and went for farming. Um,
There you go.
as one
Yeah.
Why not?
As one
Why
does.
not?
Right.
the most logical thing to do next. Makes me think of those memes at times where I'm like, it's these things are like, worked at Microsoft, goose farmer.
Yeah.
It'll be the
Yeah.
next thing in the thing.
Sometimes you need to take a big
Yeah.
jump
Yeah.
and pivot.
And you're talking to two people who've done it multiple times,
Yeah.
so our resumes look exactly like that.
Yeah, I think that's becoming a lot more of the norm in our world too. So yeah, like big career switch, world is having a, pretty significant impact with COVID. I left Chicago day one of lockdown. It was absolutely insane. Like hopped in a car with my buddy, drove across the country to Oregon and started a completely different life for 9 months.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty radical and I saw how resilient I was through all of that, which was super great. So I got integrated into a fairly small community in Central Oregon in Sisters. Through my program, I met somebody that I started to develop a connection with, and we started dating, kind of went right into a default monogamous relationship. Really loved this girl and just like went, our world was so small. I think I
Mhm.
saw maybe like 12 people in total through that whole time there. We were a little bit more like free in Oregon from what I was hearing in Chicago and other big cities, but there was definitely that presence still of just being like, you can't go to typical social things.
Mhm.
And I made decisions too for that for myself to like keep the people around me as safe as I could. So me and this person really get enmeshed in this relationship with each other. Less than 6 months of knowing each other. The program ends for farming. We go back to Chicago. We get a camper with each other and deck out that camper with my father, which leads to traveling around the United States post the winter of the election that Joe Biden won, which was 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the first COVID winter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, pretty small world
Yeah.
at that. I switched back into Chicago. All of a sudden it collapsed closed to like I see my parents and one friend,
Mhm.
and that is it. So this partner and I go and travel, go back to a lot of the places that we were already at within Central Oregon through Washington. And really ironically, we were staying in Seattle with a friend who's helping with the camper to like install some solar. And he has a roommate who is unethically introducing another person into his relationship. So it's like, it's a heterosexual couple living in this house with my friend. And the story that I'm getting told is like, this person just brings another woman into the relationship and just is like, you are going to accept this.
Wow.
And so like I had like this bubbling in my brain of polyamory had just been kind of simmering through this whole time, but I kept holding through of being like, I'm doing this relationship with this person. We have a goal. I think we're going to find land, live a radically different life. And as we kept moving through, I kept finding myself being like, I feel like this isn't everything, which just felt strange. It's like, I still have been trying to grasp on that to times of like when I meet people that I find energy with. And
Hmm.
it's not to say like, I don't want to commit with you and I don't want to have presence and build life with you. It's just like I kept finding myself changing. And some of those changes were towards greater capacities with more than one person.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say too, like it's a really, the intensity of COVID, I think, so I think sometimes like we maybe lost how scary it was those first few months, the first year. Like we thought if we went to the grocery store, we'd die. Right. And so I feel like that, I mean, I know it showed up in our relationship and in how we were relating to people. And it was like, there's this bit of end times, right? And they're like, okay, well, like what are, so I feel like everything kind of got heightened and fast tracked and in that time. So I don't, sounds like you had experienced a bit of that as well. Like, okay, well, like we're all in, you only see 12 people, right? It was a crazy time.
Yeah. And that it did really fast track our relationship. And so, like, eventually we moved back to Chicago to kind of like figure out what our next steps were.
Hmm.
We're just like, you know, we were unemployed, living on unemployment and just trying to coast by with things. And there was one event with some family members and some family friends that really kind of showed me this wasn't the relationship I wanted to be in. And I made a tough decision to approach her and say, like, I think we need to part ways, and did whatever I could to help her transition. And so I was back in Chicago where I didn't exactly want to be, but I know I needed to figure out something else. And
So this would have been still in 2021
yes,
timeframe. Okay.
yes.
That I
So
just want to pause and like that is recognizing that and then changing that after like going through what you did for the year and a half. That's a big move.
yeah, I mean, I think from the time in my 10-year long relationship, I had gone through parts where I was like, how do I put it? I think in my current time, what I could speak to the most was that I lacked boundaries immensely. And it's been some of my biggest work in current life. So I think to back then, like the partner of 10 years, there were things that just like in building connection with her were really unstable. And so I think when I was starting to see things that were also challenging with this person in ways where I'm like, I'm not sure how we can work on this together, especially since I'm considering like a different way of relating with people. And she so clearly had told me, she was like, I do not want that. That's not what I want in my life.
Yeah. So you had broached the idea of either non-monogamy or something alternative to just strict monogamy with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm a little fuzzy on the timeline of like when exactly, but
Sure.
it was somewhere along our travels that I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
something different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so you knew if you stayed in this one, it was this one again. Like you kind of looked at a few years before, like 40 years in the future. It's just us two. We've achieved everything relationally we'll achieve.
Yeah. I think I was looking a lot at my parents at that time too, because they were approaching like 35 years of marriage. And spoiler alert, my parents have subsequently divorced.
Wow.
And I will get to that part, but it's not exactly in that realm of things, but it did definitely cause more disillusion for me of like, what are relationships with people? What is
Yeah.
marriage?
Yeah.
So in 2021, back in Chicago, reintegrating with communities, things are lightening up a little bit with COVID, but a lot of fluctuation. I start making new friendships. I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my life. And I meet somebody who's very enthusiastically living in non-monogamy and is specifically brings to me saying that they practice relationship anarchy. So I go from this like really hyper codependent, monogamous, traveling tightly with each other for 9 months around the country to meeting this like really radically approaching non-binary expression person who is like stretching my world way more than any person I've met up until this point in my life. And so they already had a partner, and I had kind of, I think at this time I was starting to read More Than Two, and I dove into some other books. I read Polysecure, and really ironically, I remember going to a gathering that they had at one of the climbing gyms, and I had the book with me, and it was like in my bag, and it's like, they're like, oh, so you're reading More Than Two. I was like,
I'm studying.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, we got closer in relationship and really like jumped into dating each other pretty immediately. And I was like integrating what having a metamor meant. I was reading all of this stuff. I was sitting a lot with my own emotional, like just trying to figure out what made me unique. I remember like really struggling with that as I was going through these waves of things of like, I saw this partner at that time look at another person with the similar look of love that I was experiencing. And that felt so threatening to me. And I would even be in the space with them. And I remember, I think it was like a birthday for this partner, and we all stayed over at their apartment, really small studio apartment in Chicago. And I was like crashing on the couch, and they were on the bed, and we're all going to sleep. And there was like a point I remember like hearing them just kissing very lightly. And in my brain, I was just like, I want, I'm going to get through this. Everything's fine. It's all chill. I've wanted this in my life, and just breathe and move through it pretty well. Each time I've kind of bumped into something where I was like, oh, maybe not this. I don't know. Like, what am I doing? I I found myself kind of being able to adapt to it. And then like as I was trying to grasp what relationship anarchy more, I only had that like really small 6-page writing from Andy, from this partner. And at one point, I had made the decision to have sex with someone that was outside of our relationship. And I thought I was going by the things that we had agreed upon with each other. And I didn't strictly abide by our agreement, which was like a prior communication of it at that time. And this led to a pretty significant rupture for that relationship. And this partner of mine had a similar experience at another point in their life in which they were lied to. So really like broke open a whole bunch of stuff. And it brought me to really deep dive into investing in myself and understanding more about relationships. So this was during the time of like 3 huge significant events for me. So that relationship ends up uh, ending, changing. There was a period of time where we just like did not talk to each other at all. And then my parents separate and divorce. I
After
end up
35 plus years, sounds like.
Yes. And then the last part was that my job, which was a source of community for me, it was a big piece of identity. I was an instructor for the climbing community. I got fired.
Wow.
And so all this happens at once. And who am I? Who am I? What am I? What am I doing? Why am I here? It just scrambles me so hard. And I had a therapist at this time, I remember, who a couple times I'd approach him about the relationship dynamics, and I told him what was going on. And he would say to me, well, you're trying this out. You're trying out this relationship style. And it hit me like a nail. It just pierced me in a way where I was like, no, like this is what I am wanting to do. Like my intention is here, and I want to get through these uncomfortable points because I believe a better world is possible. And I think that's why I've started to lean so closely towards relationship anarchy and trying to understand anarchy more too as a political movement. So 3 significant things happen. I find your guys' podcast.
The saviors Pam and Jim come into your world.
Honestly, Jim, full send. I mean, like he was, if I remember correctly, he was from Chicago as well. And like listening to his story, my father is older. He's in his like mid to late 70s. And so it's not too far off. I mean, decade plus from Jim, but like I was like, I feel like I understand in a way like who this person is without meeting him from this generational aspect. And just to hear him stretch and change and just go through things in which he was just like, oh, I had this close male relationship. And then all of a sudden, we become intimate, we become sexual. There's these other parts of me that I start to discover and really enjoy about myself.
Yeah. At 79 is just, yeah.
Right. Very normal age to be, going through such like identity shifts. Very,
Right.
very
Right.
casual.
Yep. Yeah. Well, so I'm curious, just clarify too. So it sounds like you and this partner, I think you mentioned Andy, you had like you sort of sounds like just sort of like eased it, just sort of like slowly, naturally developed into some type of a relationship that you also had. It sounds like you made like a 6-page relationship agreement together. Did I catch that right?
Oh, not exactly. So I was referring to I feel goofy using the word, but it is a manifesto because that's what he
Okay.
calls it.
Yeah.
The Relationship Anarchy Manifesto.
Got it.
So that was like the point of reference I had. My partner and I didn't have, to my memory, we didn't have like anything written, but we used a lot of tools for like checking in. I remember using the relationship smorgasbord at one point to kind of ballpark idea, just talk about like, hey, how are you feeling about these domains of connection with each other? But everything that we had with each other was like more of a verbal, like talked agreement of just being like, hey, if you want to have sex with somebody else, it was more so for sexual safety. The biggest priority was just like clear communication about somebody's STI standing and just shared results around.
Yeah.
So that was to be done prior.
Okay. Got it.
And that's, yeah. So I, on all this deep diving and trying to get a better understanding of self, I discovered all of the podcasts. I multi-amory. I weirdly enough had discovered Nicole's without realizing it. So my current partner, I had found her artwork for her podcast, not realizing it all. And I'll get to that bit, but like I go through this huge shift in self. I've moved out of the city for a while. I started dating 2 people at once for the first time in my life. And these relationships grew fairly organically. They were just like people that I'd met through community that I knew, and I was like, I'm doing the thing. I'm living the lifestyle. I feel like I've achieved some type of thing that I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, but over the time, one of the connections becomes really strong for me, and she's went through a pretty big shift in herself where she ends up doing the same farming program I did. And before that time, she wanted to go on a trip with somebody from her past. And I was very supporting of it and had talked to her just being like, if you find yourself wanting to get closer to this person, like, please talk to me. And I'm here. I'm your friend before I'm your partner. And I want to support you and I want to show up with you. So she traveled for 3 months to Baja, California with this guy in his bus. And when we would check in, and I was like, it sounded amazing. I mean, like living in a fully decked out bus with like somebody that you feel close to from your past and just like living this dream that she told me she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And through that trip, like some pretty hard things happened. She had a pregnancy scare. She was with people that, it was a community that she was just being integrated into, and she was being viewed as this like new person. And so when we would connect with each other and she was telling me how that relationship was going, I realized that something that was happening with her was now what had happened for me in the past. Like I found out 2 weeks later about an escalation, an escalation in their connection. And so that was the point where we talked, where then later she's telling me about the pregnancy scare and telling me about them getting closer and having sex. And I found that I was able to meet this really well. And it also hurt deeply because I kept thinking about myself in the prior circumstance with this other partner, in which the reaction was anger. And I felt like maybe I need to be angry about this. I'm not totally sure. But I show up to support her, and she ends up moving out to Oregon, and along the way, I drive with her halfway through the country. We part ways in Colorado, and a day afterwards, she gives me a phone call saying that the relationship needs to change. And she had connected with this person and wanted to be monogamous with them. And I felt a ton of pain because, again, it brought up just kind of like, why am I doing this? This was somebody who was new to this whole connection. They didn't really want polyamory, but they wanted to be in a relationship with me. And when I came back to the city, the other partnership I had was starting to really dwindle, and we were bumping into a lot of our values with each other. They are a little bit of more of a religious person. I was not raised with any religion in my life. And so when we would talk about children, when we would talk about what it meant to get closer, it just brought me to a place of like, I need to step away from this configuration. And I've learned this from several of my friends. We make this joke that's like, it feels like a very dude joke. But it's like, if you find yourself wanting to run away from everything, don't do it. If you think the answer is to leave all of your communities and all of your like support and everything that you know is your identity, don't listen to that. Like, chill out for a little bit. So I stayed in the city, changed that relationship. Really ironically, like, that relationship has a birthday in which there's Nicole. And she happens to be in a relationship with another person through our community. And I am very confused about this whole circumstance. But I meet her and we really hit it off in a conversation. And at this point in my life, I think this was like 2023 or late 2020. Yeah, it's 2023. I had completely stepped away from the concept of dating in the formal world of being like, specifically, I think in my age group, a lot of people are looking for it, like being on apps or openly trying to just be like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find a person for this purpose.
Yeah.
Like,
Like
because
an
I want
agenda.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goal driven dating.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. Just being
Yeah.
like, that typical escalator of things.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when we met at one point, like, I see Nicole's phone background and she's got her logo. And I was like, I have that logo on a music playlist that I sent the previous partner that everything fell apart with because we used to share a ton of music. And she's like, what? That's mine. Like, I made this. How did you find it? And I'm like, I searched on the internet. And at the end of that meeting, Nicole had told me, I want to see you again. And I didn't know how to take this. My partner at that time was having a hard time with Nicole because of her other relationship as well, because there was just all these switching going on.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we got closer to each other, I dove completely into Nicole's what is the word I'm looking for? Scholarly world, because she has her dissertation online. So like, I download that and she's like, hey, I just saw you downloaded my dissertation. And I was like, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't think that would be something you would notice. And yeah, we just like hit it off. I get into Nicole's world more and I'm getting exposed to a person that I see a lot more alignment of values. And I see for myself that I've gotten through a lot of this, like, I've gotten through a lot of jealousy, possessiveness, what it meant to be in connection with more than one person, and also giving that other person the same, like, the freedom that I would want for myself as well. And yeah, Nicole and I have been through quite a lot in almost, I think it was about a year, almost today or within the next week that we first met.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's definitely this in October. And so, yeah, Nicole and I now we've been kind of early in our relationship, I had asked for us to go to couples therapy together. I thought it was something really beneficial in my first like poly configuration when things were not going good. I thought it was just a good place to like work on our own hurts with each other. And we started that in like March. And since then, like, yeah, we've just gotten closer. I've like thought a lot more about how my other relationships in my life feel significant like life partners, whether or not there is intimacy present or not present in there. And the most current up to date, I feel like reality that is set in heavily has been being in grad school. Like I have normally been a very social person. I have participated in rock climbing, the flow arts community with like juggling and just so many other activity-based things in Chicago that all of a sudden, like, it's just narrowed down to, like, there's a couple people in my cohort I'm connecting to. There's my partner. There's my really, like, close friendships that also feel like partners. And I am trying to be, like, the role for me right now is student and learner. And I'm just learning to kind of integrate that more because I have experienced time to be very fluid, especially since COVID. But yeah, that's kind of the very short
Yeah.
of it.
That's the whole point of this podcast, is to share your story.
Yeah.
So
The arc of it. Yeah.
yeah.
I
Did
love
you
that.
just start grad school this fall?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's being shot out of a cannon in some ways.
Yes. It actually, before it was starting for me, Nicole had said, she's like, I can't wait till grad school slaps you. And like, here we are in it. And we both went through some like stressors. And there's been points where I'm like, so I'm getting slapped by grad school now. How's it feel? You got what you want. Like, does it feel good? It's just like being really sarcastic, but yeah, I think it's been, kind of everything I've wanted. For sure being shot out of a cannon, but like, I no longer am, I think I've been more of a self-directed learner through all the material, but now I'm like getting that formalized, like, as much as I don't want to pay attention to the DSM, I need to understand it to the extent of a working professional.
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I appreciate everything you've shared so far, Rashid. And like, I think what kind of sticks out to me too is just the humanness of it, right? That it wasn't like, oh yeah, I thought polyamory would be a good idea, and then I did it, and it was easy. It's like, no, I messed up, they messed up, I got hurt, they got hurt. I learned a few things along the way here, then I tried it in the next one, and I kind of fucked it up there too. Like I think that is something that often gets lost when people talk about this because it's hard to say, yeah, I messed that up, or oh yeah, I've struggled with jealousy, or I still struggle with it because people I think often hear, if you're not full of compersion and you have any jealousy, then you're not cut out. You shouldn't be doing this, or you're doing it wrong. Or if you're not the perfect relationship anarchist, then you're unethical. Or there's just so many of these tropes that get thrown around. And I just loved how your story wove in so many of like the human elements that this isn't like linear path to anywhere.
Well, and how many other things in life you're also navigating, like how they all
Yeah.
wove through each other, of like the relationship with your parents and that whole shift, and then also just what do you like, where is your purpose, where do you find that, what do you want, and trying different things.
Yeah, I appreciate that acknowledgement around humanness. I've been thinking a lot about, since I've started school, I picked up this book that I found in a free library and I finally decided to read it. And it's called Rain on Dust. And it's a book about grief, and it takes a more spiritual approach to it. And there's an early section in a passage that says, like, the expression of grief is really difficult in today's society because we care so much about our appearances, about how we like show up. And I've been a person who used to be really heavily immersed in online activity. I think I was a fairly chronically online person. That is how I found so much of this like community.
Mhm.
Honestly, is like I found the Chicago polyamory connection and so many different other just like groups and resources that I saw. And I used to make videos. I used to do like vlogs because I wanted to record my life. And I would care a lot about how that was perceived by others. And I've
Yep.
seen as I keep going down this path, the big thing I keep bumping into is that like how others perceive it of being like, oh, if you're not perfectly doing this, then uh, throw it all out. Like
Mhm.
monogamy is the easier default thing. Society has tested this out. Why are you stretching yourself so far outside of it?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I had a friend fairly recently kind of acknowledge this within me where when in our conversations, they've gotten pretty philosophical about what connections mean. And they had told me that my perspective seems like it's so far stretched from the norm. And that felt really good to hear
Yeah.
because I was like, I feel like I'm leading to my values. And actually, my couples therapist said this yesterday of like walking in our own integrity. And I found that to be so incredibly powerful because even in the stories, I tell you things and I think about like the small parts of like violating a relationship agreement. There is so much in that I learned, and I will openly like wear that and talk about it with people, along with getting fired from my community or what happened with my parents and stuff. I feel like there is not a huge space in society today to be a human that has grief and is just kind of a mess with things. And it's not
Yeah.
necessarily like sadness. I want to be really like distinct about that of like grief is, I think of it as this like, what is the word? It's like a boundless dreamer, it's something where we just like, after we get through it, then we can have more praise and life and really give back to it. But like when we lose and when we become detached from something that we were so attached to, it's just like losing that potential of like, where could this life go? And yeah, for sure, watching my parents, like they felt like such a rock for me through my life. And I saw their relationship was imperfect. I knew this. But as I started to get older, it was really difficult to see, like, I think, especially in my father, I'd always thought of him as somebody who had his stuff put together. And as I've moved through all of this with him, doing family therapy with him as well, I have seen how, like, product of his generation, parts of him where he decided to no longer put in work and effort. And like, I see his own grief. And I feel like at times as a child, I try to like give some support towards him with it, but also like I recognize I don't want to parentify my parent.
Mhm.
So just like showing up in the messiness of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, the word that comes to mind, and I feel like it gets overused these days, but is authenticity, right? Like
Mm,
we can show up and say, "Yeah, I'm not perfect, and here's where I messed up," and that I think often gets received from people in such I don't I feel like often a warmer way, but we're afraid of it, right? But we can say, "Yeah, I wasn't perfect here and here and here," and I think when I have somebody tell me that, I find myself relaxed often. I'm like, "Oh, shit, okay, they're not just bullshitting me," right? They're not just coming out here saying, "Oh, yeah, non-monogamy, yeah, I've got these partners and it's great, no big deal. So, you wanna do this?" And it's like, "Well, that sounds a little bit unlikely."
yeah. Yeah. I feel like our world is getting a huge stretch towards that, and not to
Mhm.
jump fully into a different realm of things, but like current political stuff, the person who is the Cheeto in the big seat, like there is such this perception of just like holding some type of like delusion or disconnection from reality. And I do think in relationships, in how governments run, what certain states do, there's more transparency to just be like, it's not this veneer of just like we are perfect everything that we do in our walk of like, if we live in a monogamous paradigm of things, we don't do any wrong. We don't
Yep.
ever have our own hiccups or real human moments of things. Like, people definitely feel emotions towards other folks, and that's not the threat. Like, I find it so often that we create war from the things that are inside of us. There is no real threat that is on the outside,
Mhm.
other than just what it is, what it means to like work with each other. I feel like we all exist on this ball together, and often we take those parts of us that are inside and we make it as if it's some type of like paralysis demon walking around in the open.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I appreciate that. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
curious, you like sort of on the same thread, you had mentioned, when you talk to your therapist, when things were kind of falling apart and they were sort of like, oh, well, you're testing it out. You're testing it out. And you're feeling that like, I don't, it doesn't feel like a test. Like it feels like I'm moving towards what is me. And I'm curious about that. Like what parts of non-monogamy or what you're doing, the way that you're relating really feel like they are you or they are the way that like better fits you. You kind of, I think maybe early on too, you mentioned like it's sort of part of your ethics and your sort of way of being or it better aligns with that. And I'm just a little bit curious about that.
Yeah, totally. Great framing of question. Honestly, it's hitting something that I was like, whoa. Um, I remember as a very young child feeling, I think, a sense of, it was probably compassion towards other people in a way that would move me to tears. And I, oh, this is funny. I have my grandmother on my father's side is raised Roman Catholic, and whenever I was a kid, they were like, "If you got any questions, you can ask us stuff." And I remember asking her once about angels, and she told me a really like glossed over, small child rendition of just like, "They're watching over you, and you have one with your name." And I remember like going to bed at night and I would be like, God bless. And I would name every person I could think of. And then I would extend it to be like the rest of the world. And
Mhm.
so whenever I got into like conflict with people and whenever I like kind of saw somebody else in some type of pain, I had wanted to like hold that and I wanted to be in connection. Like, I remember having a friend that turned more into kind of an enemy when I was in maybe like middle school towards high school. And I got into a tough with him, and I've never gotten into like physical altercations, but I remember like getting up to him and like grabbing him by like his neck, and I like stopped myself and was just like, none of this feels good. Like, this is not how I want to approach any of the things. And I'm feeling this level of hurt and anger. And I think as I keep moving through life, what I keep coming towards is like, why would I create constraints or a box on another person to be in connection with me? And I think of it as like, I was listening to this comedian Josh Johnson
Mhm.
fairly
Yes.
recently. Don't know if you guys are familiar with him.
We
Yeah.
I'm,
are we are
I
familiar.
watch every week.
Save here, save here. He had one about like empathy towards other people.
Mhm.
And he was talking about like, let me see if I can get to that memory right now. But like, we've been talking a lot about like intolerance that was developing in the world and what it meant to have empathy towards intolerance. And I think at times like it's be it's becoming really tricky. And so within my own values with this, like I've thought about, oh yes, now I recall. It was about how we're all born with inherent freedom. And he talked about how it's not something that's granted to you necessarily by a state, by a government, that this is something that we are just like given as we come into this world, is to be free. I think that's like touched me in such a deep way, where I've continuously come back to it of like, in relations, it feels really important to be able to give that to others. And I like to come back to a framework too of like, you're a friend first before you are all these other titles. My
Mhm.
first metamor, Eric, want to quote him with this. He was like, one step away from strangers to become a friend, and then everything else is just kind of an add-on. And I think that approach has like helped me so much with like holding other people in complexity, and about developing a lot of my own boundaries for things to be like, I want to protect and give myself these good things, and I don't need to like have somebody else's preferences be something that harms me so deeply. Like when my previous partner made the decision to be monogamous with the other connection, like I always had told her, I want you to be free. Like you get to decide what you want to do with your life. And it felt like it was a huge help for me to see that passage through. So I've consistently seen this with myself, where I think of this like soft part of my heart that is able to extend to others and be like, we might not meet with each other and our values and stuff, but I want you to have freedom. That feels very important.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, and beautifully said too. Like, thank you for everything you shared, and for weaving so many different aspects throughout. It's
Mhm.
just been a really beautiful conversation, and I can tell how much, I don't know, like, work you've done on to, like, figure things out for yourself, and to have, I'm sure it's not always easy, it's not necessarily easy, but, like, have grace for yourself too throughout that process,
Mhm.
and for others, empathy for others, and willing to do the work, like, go to family therapy, go to couples therapy, like, be able to have space where you can have conversations that you probably wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you for seeing me with that.
Yeah.
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 Good.
I'm also curious, you said you're with Nicole, you 2 have been together for about a year.
Mhm.
Did that other relationship you were in transition to something different, or are you in other connections now?
The other relationship transitioned to a friendship, and I think it's been still complex because this person uh, started to date and see the previous person that Nicole was seeing in connection with. So there's a lot of complexity around that. I do feel like warm regard with this person.
Mm.
I've seen for her that her life has become really busy. I don't know exactly what's been going on, but when we do connect and when I do talk with her, we have a really warm friendship. The last times we kind of talked about our connection, I knew that there was a lot of like complexity around like the shifts in relation that happened, of like me getting closer to Nicole from everything that we were like going through, and then her subsequently getting closer to the person that Nicole was close to. And in current, yeah, I think my other partner is grad school.
Yes. That's a very
That
valid
feels,
answer.
yeah, that feels like the most accurate. I have had some connections that I have felt parts of like intimacy or romance and sexuality that have like floated by in my life as of recent, and I have been putting less effort in, mainly because of grad school. I have some really solid friendships that I've had for like over 16 years. One of them, I consider my friend Colton like a life partner. I've talked with him about this. I feel that he's very accepting of like who I am and the directions I've gone, and also my other friend Sam. I've like there has been points where when it comes to maybe like escalating connections or considering feelings at times, I have often brought in like these other connections because I'm like, I don't know how to totally put my sexual orientation. I've like never been in a connection with another man that has also been like romantic and stuff, but I do feel a sense of love towards one of my friends that like I've never bothered to escalate that, but I feel a need to like state the presence that it has in me and its importance in my life.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful to be able to, like, you don't necessarily have to have things don't have to have a label. They can be a friendship with whatever that means for the two people.
Yes, I feel like that's the one thing I wish I could get across in general to society is like this overarching thing of just like you don't necessarily have to have a label that fits kind of like what's going on inside you. The human experience is already like super messy. We don't have to put everything in boxes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting you say that because I've been just like thinking about. So one of the things that we talk about a lot here is community, and we have a community, and we talk about the importance of it. But you've brought up a few times. I don't want to say the downside of community, but maybe
Mm.
a challenge that you've kind of talked about running into, which is like, okay, I went to a thing, I met this person, but then they were connected to this person and that person, and they
People
were
being connected in
yeah,
lots of different ways.
it's such a web, and I'm just curious how, I mean, over the years, how have you navigated the interconnectedness of this? I will just throw out too that I think there's a really beautiful power in how interconnected they are because
Mm.
in some ways it forces us to not do some of the like shitty patterns we maybe have seen other places where you're like, okay, we're breaking up. I'm going to cut you out and I'm going to badmouth you to everybody to make myself look better. Like, well, no, we're going to still be at the same potluck on Sunday.
Right.
So how do we show up there together?
Right. Yeah. Oh man, I'm really thinking about that a lot for, that first partner that was my introduction to polyamory. Like we only in the last like less than year have become friends again.
Yeah.
After like a year plus of basically not talking to each other.
Sometimes space is important.
Oh yes, so much. Like it yet again, parts for boundary work. It
Hmm.
Yes.
took me a long time to realize, like, especially when this person had communicated their limits for me. When it comes to complexities in community, I think I want to do a quick clarification of a definition of community
Hmm.
because this has been it's been a huge conversation I have nearly weekly or daily with people. I remember a simple graph that showed it the difference between like community and something that was more like a cult.
Hmm.
And a cult has a figurehead, a person at the center, and then all of those connections are dependent on the center person. And if the center person removes, then the cult, the connections of things can really like disappear.
Hmm.
When it comes to community, there's no one person at the center of it all. People can independently make their own relationships. It could be around shared values, it could be around shared activity. So, as long as that exists with things, people can connect and build and do what they want. In the complexities of where I've been through, especially like, oh man, the previous relationship that has shifted more to a friendship, like we all exist in one climbing community in Chicago. And I have heard stories and eccentricities and so forth. And sometimes I think maybe the negative parts of like gossip, which are speculation. And I feel like I hold it in a very similar way that I have with everything else I've talked to you about of like having compassion, having empathy, understanding somebody is going through something that I don't understand totally, has just as much complexity in their life. And there was one last thought that was just slipping there of I think like, forgiveness, and mainly for myself. Um, there was a trauma informed class I went through yesterday that talked a lot about it. And I did not realize that I had done that for myself to get through everything that happened in my climbing community because I participate and attend and am a member in the place that that fired me, and to show up in it. I have gotten a lot of support from the people that directly trained with me, directly worked from me. I still see complications with management. I think a lot of it has just been, again, coming back to boundary work of like, I don't need to take on everything for everyone as much as I would like to be maybe in a more neutral place or something. Relationships are two-way streets, so I don't necessarily need to do all this heavy lifting to like meet another person if they don't want to do that for me. So I think a lot of forgiveness is what I've had to move through for these people and whatever decisions that they make, because like I don't want to have hate in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Forgiveness is hard.
Yeah.
Too.
Yes.
When, yeah. For especially, I would say, especially towards ourselves.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many thoughts, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part two. We got part two.
Yeah. I also, we know, you listen to the show, you know that sometimes we like to ask about bloopers. And as we wrap up today, I wanted to give you a chance to share a funny story if you'd like.
yeah. Yes. Actually, I was just listening to just to remind myself of kind of what the framework is for this question or what people have said. I had listened to Dedeker's from Multi-Amory, her part 2 with you guys. And the whole story with the toothbrush, I was like, love human experiences. Love human experiences. For me, Nicole and I were in some conflict, and we had a long night of kind of like coming back to an argument over and over, and then things kind of became multi-layered and went into other things, and it would go from like one high-end topic to another, and like we kept staying in each other's presence, and yet we were also like, I might need space from you, but I don't know what to do. And I had biked over to her place, and my bike was like locked away and I had no access to it. And I was like, I don't want to leave, but I want to stay present with you. And so we made the agreement of like staying together. You know, we wanted to like move through this stuff, recognize it was going to take some time. And so we like go to bed and decide to do like separate sleepings because it just felt better for our bodies. And we get up in the morning, and I'm just kind of like coming out of like, I feel a little bit more refreshed and the sunlight's hitting me, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I hear Nicole toot. And I was like, what? And I look over to her, and she's like, yep, that was me. And for a little bit of background context, like in our relationship, my family has very openness around like farting as a joke and farting as something that happens with your human body.
Yeah.
And Nicole's experience was not that. Like total polar opposite. So as we have gotten closer to each other, there have just been times where I remember this from some other reading, when you kind of lose that magical veneer of like the other person is so magnificent, and they're so beautiful, and everything they do, they walk in roses and so forth, but they also fart.
Yeah.
And they do weird human things just like you. So at this whole moment of everything, getting out of this point of conflict and so forth, and just having Nicole like have this toot and just be like, she was great. She was wonderful with it, like very lighthearted. And I felt like it was a way that we actually started to reconnect from, which was so funny, of just being like, this thing was so like taboo or othered or something that you didn't do it in front of other people. And to have this like moment of connection where I was like, I am so happy you're being human with me. Like, thank you for showing up. This is hilarious. It's so many multi-layered ways of our connection. But like, I can't describe the look that she gave when I like looked over at her, that like was especially after all of the moments of just being like, I don't feel good in my body with you here. I don't want to take space, but and then the next morning I'm just being like, yeah, that was me.
It was part of your way to reconnection sometimes. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's a great story, though. Like, it's just, again, bringing the humanness in.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, we are all human, and it can
Mhm.
be embarrassing at times. And still, like, if we're met in that humanness, how like, beautiful is that too?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another world is possible.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing, and thank you, Nicole,
Yes.
for
Yes.
being a part of this. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Sheed, for everything you shared today. It's been so wonderful to chat, and I just love this conversation so much. We wanted to see if there's anything else that you wanted to share and get out there today.
First off, I really appreciate both of you guys for having me on the podcast. It's been lovely to talk with both of you and see your faces and have this conversation. If there's anything else that I want to get out there right now, the first thing my brain's going towards is Nicole has like often told me to start trying to build my own business for things. I don't have that at this moment since I am still starting with school. And for me, it doesn't totally feel appropriate yet. So that's like, for when it comes to, I think about contacting me and stuff, I feel like for people, if they're listening in Chicago, you can find me in rock climbing gyms and etc. But I feel pretty attached to my community. So I feel like if people are approach me from this, I'm always happy to have a conversation. Yeah, I'll just ring again with what I had said before of another world is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rashid. And so for anybody who is not a premium subscriber, we're going to leave it there. And for the rest of you, Rashid, would you be up for answering a couple of questions from our card decks to dig into some I don't know, some spicier stuff here and there?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
All right. Well, then let's do it.
And we're back. Thank you so much, Rashid, for coming on and sharing your story. It was absolutely lovely to talk with you, and we're so excited to get this out there.
Yeah, thanks again from my side as well. And a huge thank you to Nicole for introducing us to Rashid and for the amazing work she does as well.
Also, happy birthday.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, Rashid. I forgot to mention that. That was a fun surprise we learned after we finalized the recording with Rashid. We were telling him when we thought this podcast was going to come out, and we're like, yeah, it's going to be out on January 7th. He's like, well, hi, that's my birthday. So
happy birthday.
It was perfect. Happy birthday, Rashid. And a quick reminder that Rashid also stuck around for the bonus questions. If you're not already a premium subscriber or a member of our community and you'd like to check out the bonus content, the bonus questions, that's a fantastic chat we have with Rashid. You can again head over to our website, scroll down on the homepage. You can sign up right there and you get instant access to the premium feed, which is ad-free listening and bonus questions. So we'll see you on the bonus content.
A couple of quick reminders about upcoming dates. Our next community monthly workshop is January 15th with Marsha Basinski, Why You Don't Know What You Want and How to Find Out. Come join us for that over on the community tab of our website. Our next virtual speed friending event, open to anyone, is on January 22nd. You can sign up at the banner at the top of our website. We'd love to have you come join us. And our next in-person retreat is May 1st to the 3rd, 2026. We're called Relationship Recess. You can find all of the information under the events tab.
Come join us.
Yes.
We'll see you there. And a quick reminder that we'll be back next week, right in your ears. We've got an interview with Natalie. It's actually our second time talking to Natalie. Natalie was first on the podcast back on episode 304. Fantastic conversation then, and a great conversation coming up next week. So we'll see you then. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening.